Hello and welcome to the Awesome 180 channel. I am Ashton Doctor, your habit coach, and today we're going to be discussing the 4-quadrant method. What this helps you with is to understand which habits or which part of your life you should focus on first in order to make a change. See, very often people come to me and say, I feel like making a change, but I have no idea where to start. I don't know what to do. So here is a good way of guiding you. The issue is that we often try and do the things that our friends are doing, things that are cool to do and actually of no relevance to us. So I've seen people who hate gym kind of workouts join a gym just because it was a cool thing to do. Sometimes that's not your thing. Maybe you need to join a yoga class. Maybe you need to get some other form of movement into your life. Running is a big example of this. How many people have started running just because it was cool? Now, the problem with doing that is that you don't have a vested interest in it. There is no investment in it, and because you don't see a good outcome. Hence, you never end up sticking to these habits or these changes. So the first rule is not to be swayed by popular opinion, not to be swayed by what just your friends are doing, but to figure out what change will have the biggest impact in your life. So the 4-quadrant method is very interesting. It's very simple. Just take a piece of paper, one line vertically, one line horizontally, turns the paper into 4 quadrants. Now, each of these quadrants represents one aspect of our life. These quadrants are different for different people. So, most of us might have one quadrant in the same place called health. Say one quadrant is health. One quadrant could be work. One quadrant could be family life. One quadrant could be finances. Now, these could change depending on where you are in your life cycle. Maybe work is not so important, but your kids' education is. Maybe your health is not so important right now, but you are looking at hobbies, learning to play the piano. Whichever aspect of your life is important, that falls into these 4 quadrants. And why just 4 quadrants? Because typically there is nothing more beyond these 4 that we think about. I strongly advise you on adding more vertical lines and having 34 quadrants. Please stick to the 4-quadrant principle. So the first step is to figure out which are these headings that are the most important for you and your life. So for me, I just did this last weekend. For me, it was work, finances, social and personal. By personal, I put in health, my education in terms of the books that I'm reading, all of that fell into the personal space. What you do next is give yourself a rating out of 10 for each of these quadrants. So say on work, I gave myself a 7 on 10, on finance, I gave myself an 8 on 10, on personal, I gave myself a 6 on 10, and it went around like that. These will change for you. You might give a 0 on 10 for some aspect of your life that you really want to bring in that you've not been focusing on as well. Then within these quadrants, break them down into 2 categories. The first is write down 3 things that you're doing very well right now and you want to do more of and continue. The second is I want you to write down 3 things that you want to bring about as a change. So the 3 things that you're doing poorly or the 3 things that you need to change or add, and what are you going to do for each of these? So make them down and write them in your 4 quadrants. The next step is to choose the box with the lowest score. Say you gave yourself a 4 on 10 for something. That's the lowest score you've given yourself. Take that box and now identify the habits that you need to do in that box to move that 4 to a 9, 4 to a 10, right? So the idea is how do you work on your weaknesses to make them stronger? Because ultimately these are the 4 quadrants that you are evaluating your life on. So if these grow and if these improve, that automatically means that your life grows and your life improves. So my Habit Coach Pro tip for the quadrant exercise is to not just put quadrants that you're very bad at or very good at. Mix them up. Use both, because there should be quadrants where you're scoring 8s and 9s and 10s on, because I'm sure there are aspects of your life that you are focusing on. So what I want you to do this week is to take a piece of paper, draw your quadrants and fill this up. Then I want you to identify which quadrant you're going to work on. Choose only 2 habits to work on in that quadrant. Don't go mad, don't choose 65. Choose 2 powerful habits that will actually get that score up. The next thing I want you to do is check out our resources on awesome180.com, check out our resources on the Habit Coach podcast, because I've covered so many topics that maybe you can take a habit idea or an idea for self-improvement from there and use that. You see, ultimately, our lives are so complex, but when you break it down into these simple 4 quadrants, it becomes easy for us to evaluate and understand where we need to improve. Don't be confused anymore. In fact, share this with friends who've been confused, who've been trying to make a change but couldn't figure out how. And if you found this video helpful, like the video and subscribe to our channel. I am Ashton Doctor, your habit coach, and remember, awesome lives start with awesome habits.